Ahoy! Welcome to Smosh Mouth. I'm Shayne.
Aye, matey. I'm Amanda. And we have a very special weary traveler on our ship with us today. His name is Trevor Evers.
Arg, what do you mean, weary traveler? I be the captain of this ship.
What?
You have the most SpongeBob pirate voice.
Arg.
You are not the captain. That's crazy.
SpongeBob, me boy.
Aye, that's the captain there.
So what am I?
You're-
The whore?
Whoa! None of us.
Hey, don't act like it's not happening on these ships. If a woman is brought on these ships, what's happening there?
Whoa!
She's not a captain.
Hey.
No,
I
mean,
wish.
You're right. There are a couple very famous female pirates, though, to be fair.
That's true, and that's me.
And that's you.
Okay.
Was once a whore, now a famous pirate.
Is that
I've
okay?
decided. I
All
make
right.
my own resume.
That's your lore.
Look at this. I have a sword. You have a hat. You have an eye patch.
Yeah, for our audio listeners, we're pirates.
Yeah.
Oh,
Fully
yeah.
decked out.
Fully
If you
dressed
guys
out.
didn't get that, we are pirates.
It is the week of Trevor's birthday.
Yay!
And because of that, and we've had this plan for like a year now, I feel like.
Yeah.
Talking about this.
yeah.
You wanted to talk pirates.
Yeah, well, I think one of the episodes I came on and we just kind of accidentally started nerding out about it a little bit.
Yeah.
And I was like, guys, I really like pirates.
We were like, whoa.
And then thankfully, Selina was like, well, do you want to come on and like have a dedicated episode to nerd out? So now I get to talk about pirates we have like 4 hours, I think, slated for this.
Yeah.
recording,
Yeah. We have the
so-
whole day. Happy
Yeah.
birthday,
We're doing
Trevor.
this one a bit like a Joe Rogan experience where we just
Yeah.
go for 6 hours.
Yeah. And that's the only way it's going to be like a Joe Rogan experience.
that is the only way.
Just how long it is.
That is
Yeah.
like that. All our ad reads are for supplements.
Yeah. Gas station Rhino pill. Thank you for the
my God.
sponsorship.
Yeah, when did you first start loving pirates? When you were a kid or an adult?
I think when I was a kid, I really love pirates. I love the Pirates of the Caribbean
What?
movies.
Sorry, hold on.
Bless ye.
I am the blessed.
May you be blessed.
Thank you.
No,
Sorry.
yeah, I
Because
think
you grew up in Idaho.
yeah,
So
yeah.
you were nowhere
By the
near the
coast.
ocean.
nowhere near the ocean.
You're like,
No, I mean
What it's
like,
like.
the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. Like I think I was
Oh,
very like
so
target,
good.
like growing up. I love those movies. There was
Up at Treasure Island, of course.
Treasure Island, one of my favorite books, probably my favorite book of all time.
really?
Yeah, I love it. And I know for a lot of people they read it and it's like that's kind of a tough read. Like it is the book is very, I mean, it's old.
Why
and-
is it a tough read? I can't remember it. I
Just
just
old
remember the
18.
Muppets.
They're just slower. Like,
And it's also like the old, like Robert Louis Stevens very committed to like using like pirate
Old
like
language.
tongue and making it very like authentic. And so like a lot of the dialogue is just like, wow, it's hard to understand. One time actually, I was reading that book and I was like reading it to Raven before we would go to sleep at night. I was like
Sweet.
reading it in bed. And
The old. She's
and
like,
I literally
I'm really
was getting
trying to
to the
sleep.
you were reading it by
dialogue.
candlelight?
Yeah, and then I was like, maybe I should have picked a different book because I'm getting to the pirate dialogue and it's like 11 at night and like we're like about to sleep and I'm like, "Are you salty bastard?"
she's
And
just
I'm
like, please stop.
"Please pick a
For the
different
love
book."
of God. I've read plenty of books from that era, but it can be tough.
yeah, yeah.
Like I remember trying to read Moby Dick and stuff, and I'm just like, man,
Moby
Yeah.
Dick was a tough.
Boy.
You can read it in school.
Moby Dick is like, yeah, okay. As far as like books go, Moby
Dang.
Dick is 1,000 times tougher of a read than like Treasure Island. It is like a children's book.
yeah. I read A Thousand Leagues Under the Sea.
Oh,
I think it's
yeah.
also,
Little
like,
Jules
it's-
Verne.
Yeah. And it's like it's cool. It's cool to be like, whoa, this was insane for the time that it was written.
Yeah.
But it's still just like what they find exciting is a different plot.
Yeah.
Like it's not gonna have the same twists and turns and,
Mhm.
and character arcs that
Yeah.
we're used to.
It's actually crazy. Like Treasure Island, when you okay, I'm gonna take off the eye patch.
What?
I'm like
That's
my
crazy.
vision. Is,
Your
like,
eye
flickering.
works.
Yeah, I
Wow.
know. Actually, if you turn the lights off, I could probably see really good out of this eye. Because that's what how people do that. Where like if you're about to
Yeah.
go into a dark place or you
Isn't
cover
that-
one eye.
Is that I've heard that lore about pirates. That they wore an eye patch, even though they weren't missing an eye, so that when they went under deck, they could take that off and they were adjusted to the
What?
darkness.
I actually haven't heard that, but that would make a lot of sense.
You just
It's
make
like
that
apart
up?
from.
I didn't make it up, but I think I read something online where someone else had made it up
Oh, okay.
and wrote it out in a
This is
post.
a Reddit stories.
But it makes sense to me.
Yeah. No. It
Or
makes
did
sense
they
to me.
wear it to be like, I'm a badass, don't mess with me, I'm so
Well, they did
cutthroat?
do a lot of intimidation.
Yeah.
Selena thinks maybe it's when you look through the spyglass.
Why would they have the eye patch to look through?
You know, it's hard
I
to
don't
like
know.
do this. So instead of doing this, they would just quickly go right to it.
Yeah. That makes sense. All right.
It's a multifunctional tool.
So, pirates, can we give a little bit of a preface of like piracy and the age of piracy?
Yeah.
Yes,
So
very good.
I'm happy to give an overview. It's so tough because I think that I really could just talk for so long. So feel free to ask questions or steer me in any direction.
We'll
But
steer you.
basically, the Golden Age of Piracy was from about like 1650 to
Okay.
1730.
Very short, 80 years.
Very short, yeah.
Wow.
Well, it was really like it overlapped greatly with the period of like expansion into the New World. So that's like kind of because the first era of the Golden Age of Piracy, it's like split into 3 eras, and the first era was from 1650 into like the early 1700s, and it's called the Buccaneering era.
Ooh.
And so Spain was they were early arrivers to the New World. They were in on it early. The market was bullish on the New
Bullish.
World and colonization. And the other European nations were like, we want to get in on that, but a navy is very expensive. And also the Golden Age of Piracy overlapped with what was called the Age of Sail. And so the Age of Sail is basically when like masted ships became the primary method of travel and commerce and also like warfare. So all of these nations were like working on their navies very heavily. But I mean,
Still in the Buccaneer era.
yeah, the buccaneering area. So there were what were called privateers. And basically, I mean, the journey across the Atlantic Ocean was really long and
Yeah.
it was very hard to like coordinate a navy and very expensive. And so these nations, what they took to doing instead was giving pirates what was called a letter of marque. And essentially, it would be like the King of England would be like, hey, here's a letter of marque. We're going to allow you to do piracy. We won't hunt your ships. You can dock in our ports as long as you only attack ships from other nations. So don't attack any English ships.
Oh.
Go have your way with Spanish, like whoever. And a lot of a lot of European nations were at war with Spain at this time.
But would the king want some of the
Booty?
The
Yeah.
booty that they take from these ships?
Yeah, so they would take a percentage
Ah,
of whatever they plundered.
Hitmen.
But yeah,
kind
I
of.
mean, for pirates, it was a pretty sweet deal because it's like they could, legally unload their goods and the king would take a percentage, but they could kind of just get up to their activities.
Do whatever they wanted to do.
And it was a way for other European nations to kind of disrupt Spain's like chokehold on the New World.
Because Spain had a lot of like routes for trade. They basically they dominated that.
Yeah, they
trade
just
routes.
got there very early. They were
Okay.
getting there very early and kind of getting like first dibs on.
What were they trading?
Well, there were a lot of like things in the New World, like tobacco was a big
Yeah.
one. Honestly, a lot of the Spanish, they were just killing, indigenous populations. And a lot of like what they were getting from like South America was gold. Like they were just like Spanish treasure galleons. They were plundering gold.
Like the governments were effectively pirates. Like everybody was
Yeah.
pirates.
Yeah.
Like everybody's stealing, but you're stealing from people who are stealing.
Right.
Yeah.
So
kind of
pirates were
things.
actually cool because they're like, we wear our name proudly. We're pirates.
There is a moral argument for the fact, because like obviously pirates, are painted as like, oh, they're the bad guys, they're attacking people. But like the English and the Spanish and the French, they were coming over and they were just killing people, and they were bringing disease. Like Nassau actually, which was a very big pirate hub on New Providence Island, which is now the Bahamas.
Yeah.
When Spain first arrived there, they just either enslaved or killed the entire indigenous population of like New Providence Island. They brought disease, and then the people that didn't die of disease, they sold as slaves and used to, farm plantations and sugarcane and things. So like all of the colonizers were really terrible people. And not to say that pirates didn't also get up to their fair share of terrible things.
Yeah.
I love pirates, but I also feel like every time I talk about it, I preface like there were a lot of pirates that did very bad things.
Naughties.
Totally.
I mean, like Sir Francis Drake is one of the most famous like explorers and privateers of all time. He was operating heavily like during the buccaneering era. And he was just a slaver. Like he just bought and sold slaves as well. And so like a lot of these people that are renowned, I mean, he was the second guy to circumnavigate the world, and like he's this very renowned explorer, but he's just
But also
an awful
bad
person.
dude. They call themselves privateers, not pirates.
Correct. Privateers or buccaneers. And that was really only if you had like a letter of marque, then you were a privateer.
Got it.
And so, yeah, during this period, like of all these nations being at war with Spain, privateers were just kind of going at it. They were plundering ships and creating little like colonies, and, you know, bringing like England would send over governors, like they took over New Providence Island. But they were kind of just having their way over in the Spanish Main.
Did the Spanish have privateers and buccaneers of their own?
Yeah.
So it was kind of like almost like a mini war happening.
Oh.
Exactly. It was like it was a lot easier for them to just send people out to be like fight each other, and because I
Yeah,
mean,
of course. They didn't do their dirty work.
yeah, they were just trying to disrupt Spain and take their stuff and the gold that they were plundering and all that. And so that was the buccaneering era.
That's the 1500s.
That's like 1650,
Oh,
right
1650.
into late or early 1700s.
Would Spanish privateers be called privateers?
Yeah, I mean they probably had another name for it, but that's kind of like overall. I don't
L
know.
Like-
privateers.
Yeah, L private.
El
So nobody ever
privateers.
referred to themselves as a pirate.
No, I think not at that time.
Okay.
But
So Pirates of the Caribbean, it's like nobody's going to say you're a pirate.
Well, you never know.
yeah,
Pirates of the Caribbean is so true. It's a true story. This episode of Smosh Mouth is sponsored by Shopify. You know what I don't like?
What?
Friction.
Ew. Friction.
Yeah, I'm not really a fan of problems, tension, or stress, especially when it comes to running our business. That's why Smosh uses Shopify. Shopify is an e-commerce platform that allows you to sell, manage, and process your inventory.
At Smosh, we have so many charming pieces of merch, like our Spring Essentials collection and our Parents Week pins. It's been so easy to start selling thanks to Shopify.
Yeah, and Shopify allows our customers easy checkout. If they're a returning customer, it saves their basic info. We need an e-commerce website that makes everyone's lives easier so that we can focus on other elements of business, like researching pirates.
And that allows growth.
Yeah. Start your free trial at shopify.com/smosh. Start your free trial at shopify.com/smosh. That's shopify.com/smosh.
Amanda, you made the sound.
I know, I have the power.
Wow.
Feels really good.
Doesn't it feel so good?
Watch.
Oh,
I went too hard. I got greedy.
it's okay. You'll have your chance again.
Thanks.
Back to the show.
Back to the show.
well, so a lot of
Head.
the modern media that you see in the parts of like pirate history that are very romanticized is actually in what's called the post-Spanish succession period. So the War of Spanish Succession ended, and then there was kind of like a peacetime. So in peacetime, all these privateers now just defaulted back to being pirates. Like once the letters of marque, like we're no longer at war. So the English are like, well, don't attack Spanish ships. And now they're just pirates again.
So they don't have a letter of marque. They're kind of free reign
Yeah.
of the seas.
Yeah. And so the post-Spanish succession is when you see a lot of like the very famous pirates. That's when they were operating. So like your Blackbeards, you know, your Calico Jack, your Anne Bonny, and your Mary Read. All these a lot of the very famous pirates.
And Bonnie and Mary Read are the famous female pirates.
Yeah. And that was a very short period of time. That was like 1710.
Okay.
And don't they
He's
didn't
like,
do it for that long. They weren't
lasted
around.
5 days. Then they threw them overboard.
It was a very short period, but it was that's when like a
Men
lot of the
can't handle
crazy
power.
exploits were happening.
In this era where there was no letters of marque.
Yeah. And then in between the privateering area and the post-Spanish succession was called the Pirate Round period. So that was like also pretty short.
Rounding up all the pirates.
Yeah, exactly. They were rounding
Really?
each other up. No, it was
Okay.
named that because
Cool.
one of the major trade routes actually from England over into the Mughal Empire. So what is now like modern day India, the British East India Company. pirates would sail from England down around the coast of Africa up to Madagascar and into the Indian Ocean, and that was a very popular place for pirates to operate. So plundering like British trade ships that were bringing spices over from India,
Whoa.
and like Mughal treasure ships. So that was a very profitable. A lot of the most profitable pirates were operating in the pirate round, and it was
In
just
the
called
Indian
that.
Ocean.
Yeah, because you would just sail down around
Madagascar.
the Cape of Good Hope in South.
And what
South
ships were they robbing? They were robbing East India Company.
Yeah, a lot of British ships were there, and I mean there were Spanish ships as well, like just trading with India. But then yeah, the Mughal Empire was kind of it was like an Islamic empire that was very powerful and very wealthy, and it was basically what is now like a lot of modern day India and Bangladesh was kind of the big
When you
area.
say treasure ships, are you talking ships full of gold?
Yeah, I'm talking trips full of just like jewels, gold, all
Wow.
that stuff.
What were they doing? Were they bringing it over somewhere?
Yeah, just
It's
trading.
that era's equivalent of like an armored bank truck. Like
Yeah.
it's like we got to move this cash or these
Exactly.
Yeah.
goods somehow, and the fastest way is by ship.
Exactly.
Because you
yeah.
can't like on land. You're
Yeah.
probably more vulnerable on land.
Yeah, on land, there's still like highwaymen and things, and the journey's like a lot longer. You could get places so much faster by ship. And the Mughal Empire was very like they're responsible for building like the Taj Mahal.
Yeah.
So it was like a lot of art. Like they had just a ton of wealth. And so that was the pirate round period. And a very famous pirate rounder was Henry Every, who was known as the King of the Pirates. And he's very famous for plundering the Emperor of Mughal, his personal treasure ship. He stole it and estimated, I think at the time, like 600,000 British pounds, which the calculation is something
Back in the
like
day is massive.
yeah, I mean the calculation it's like over like 200 million. Like I think it's somewhere between like 150 million.
That's
And he didn't have to
crazy.
give any of it to anybody else other than his crew.
Yeah, correct. He made off with it.
I think something that makes like historical eras fascinating to read about is compared to modern day, where like the scope of like the amount of power that governments have now with like technology
Yeah.
is so immense that back then though it's like if you and a few like enough guys had a ship,
Yeah.
it's like you can take on
Yeah.
the anything kind of.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like I know your chances are gonna die, but like
Probably not.
That-
I feel
you're-
like
the thought of like something of that equivalent happening nowadays just seems so impossible.
yeah,
Yeah.
Because there's no private group of people that can take on like
Yeah.
right.
a nation's most powerful
Right.
device or
Yeah.
ship. You know, it's
And
like not possible.
You take someone's ship and it could take weeks for whoever owns the ship to find out
To
about.
find out and then
Like-
they're already gone, and also I don't think the people on their ship are fully equipped to handle a group of privateers, because what are they coming on the ship with? Do they have weapons, like a bunch of weapons, or
Yeah, so a lot of pirate warfare is basically you have like, your broadside cannons,
Mhm.
and when ships would fight, usually they would come up alongside each other and they
Parallel.
would fire the broadsides. And then the whole point was like you kind of wanted to make the ship weak enough to then get on and board it. So once you were close enough, you would throw out the hooks, pull the ship in, and then, throw across the gangplanks and
and then you would take everything on that ship back to your ship.
well, you would fight, guns and swords, take over the ship, and sometimes pirates would just take what they could carry.
Mhm.
Sometimes they would take the ship with them if they could
I
tow
was gonna
the ship.
say
Right,
because like
yeah.
a certain amount of weight at a certain point,
Oh.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
gold is heavy.
It's really heavy.
So all the people on the ship either got tossed off, killed, or held
yeah.
prisoner.
Yeah. So that was another thing is like when they would take a lot of pirates would offer like survivors. Some people would just kill everyone, but
All for survivors.
yeah, like once it was very common for like once you knew the pirates like took control of your ship or whatever, a lot of people would just surrender outright. So like if it was like a
Yeah.
merchant ship, they'd be like, we don't want to fight, like take whatever you want and just like please let us live.
Yeah.
Some pirates would honor that. Some pirates would take the ship. Sometimes they would be like, well, whoever wants to join our crew can, and we're gonna kill the rest.
Did
Oh.
Henry
Um,
Evers was he a kind one?
It's tough to say exactly how like kind one pirate or another was. But yeah, honestly, I don't know. I don't know if there's like much specifics.
Would you be a kind pirate, Trevor?
I like to think I would. I like to think I
Be a
would.
kind
Be
pirate.
nasty.
I'd be dead.
You'd be a nasty.
I would be dead.
You'd be a
Oh wait, you would
nasty,
be the one who was like
dirty-
the top commander guarding the gold, and you would fight to the death to guard the gold. Is that right?
No, I'm saying I'd probably die of some disease week
Yeah.
one.
You're like, yeah, I'm on the
just-
ship.
Die. A cannon would misfire and I'd
Yeah.
explode.
I'd just stand on the
You'd have a
ship. and
rash
fall
Like you have to
everywhere.
wonder what's the like typical survival rate
Oh,
of
yeah.
a pirate. Like pretty bad.
It's
got to be
low, dude.
I think
atrocious.
it's low because you
It's
can get
low.
really, really
Well,
sick.
It's also insane to think about how many shipwrecks there are in the world. Like if
Yeah.
you went out on a wooden ship back in the day, it's like you're gonna die.
Bye.
Yeah. No, it was like it was a coin flip on whether or not you were going to live or die. People would just you would get killed boarding, you'd get trapped out in
sickness
some
also.
doldrums, sickness.
But just like the ocean is just a cruel mistress.
Yeah.
Oh my
you know?
God.
No, they were literally-
No, but like
Jesus.
storms, like you sail the wrong day and it's just your
And the
ship is
mistress
broken apart.
decides to
Yeah.
pull you
Like,
under.
You think about how up ships are nowadays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you think about one with no electricity or
Well,
plumbing.
People are still getting sick on cruises.
Yeah.
They're wiping people out left and right.
Yeah.
Storms are dangerous, but then I mean, when all you have to propel you is wind
Wind?
and sails,
Yeah.
people would like pirates would get trapped out in doldrums, and they could just be sitting like literally the ship not moving in still water for weeks, and people would just starve.
What like
And yeah,
so they're obviously they need to dock obviously to get water and everything. Is their ship like commonly known as like, oh, that's a pirate ship? You know how Pirates of the Caribbean, look at this ship. See? It's got the skull on it.
yeah.
Like
Because they would have pirate flags.
Yeah, so
So-
usually when you would you wouldn't be flying, the black flag the entire time you were sailing. Like generally speaking, you would want to be a little bit more incognito, and then once you were about to attack a ship, like if they
put
were
up a
like,
flag
okay,
with a
there's a
heart. You're like,
prize.
hey.
Yeah.
You're like, peace and love, everybody.
It's just a rainbow flag.
All you
they
need
put
is
up.
love.
They're like, that's going to mean something someday.
Yeah.
But for now, it's refracted light. And they're like, not even that. That hasn't
Yeah.
been invented
Yeah.
yet.
Okay, so that's hilarious. Okay, so you have the rounders, and then we go to the peacetime.
Yeah, so the post-Spanish succession, peacetime, all the pirates are now, they're just pirates. And for a lot of them, it was very, like, it was more desirable than just joining a navy. Because funny enough, for how bad the conditions were being a sailor, pirates were actually, like, very democratic. And, like, the pirate code was a real thing. The very early iterations of it, it's attributed to like multiple different people. Henry Every had a pirate code, but the most like complete pirate code that we have access to is Bartholomew Roberts, who is a very famous pirate captain in the post-Spanish succession period. And there were some really good, like it was a very, some of the like very like highlighted points in it were the payment system on pirate ships was very like pretty even. So the captain and the quartermaster would get 2 shares. The like gunner and the bosun the like master gunner and the bosun would get like
What's the bosun?
the bosun is essentially like sort of like third like right-hand man to the quartermaster.
Okay.
Quartermaster. And the bosun like kind of he spoke for like a lot of the crew. He was kind of like a representative almost.
Oh,
But more of
got
a
it.
manager, or like everybody has physical tasks.
Yeah.
but
So he's like a
Yeah.
talent manager.
yeah.
And so they would get a
Do
share.
they have
and a half.
HR?
Sounds like the bosun is kind of HR, maybe.
Well, like kind of like the quartermaster and the bosun were, because the captain had like complete control in like situations of battle, but outside of that, the quartermaster was really in charge of like holding votes and paying
Communication.
out shares and like bringing issues to the captain. And if the crew didn't like the captain and didn't think that he was doing a good job, they could put it to a vote and the crew would vote on whether or not they wanted a new captain.
And that was completely fine. That's not like the captain wouldn't be like, I'm going to kill you for doing that.
Yeah, I mean, if the captain was a bad person, but if, he
But
was that bad
overall,
of
the
a
captain
person-
could get demoted to quartermaster, and
What?
the quartermaster becomes.
So the captain's just like washing the deck the next one day?
The captain could get demoted. He could become a regular crew member. A lot of times, if the captain did get voted out, he's probably being really awful, and they would like maroon him. Sometimes they would just straight up kill the captain.
Jack Sparrow.
A full mutiny.
Yeah, a full mutiny.
Would it be called a mutiny if they just voted him out, or is that kind of a different thing?
I don't actually know, like, technically what would qualify
I feel
as
like a mutiny is like you're going against them and you
I think
you maroon them on an island or something.
a mutiny, I think more so is like something done in secret and without like not putting it to a vote. It's like a group of people would rise up and just kill the captain without like voting on it.
Without working as a like full team. Yeah.
That would suck
That's
to be
fascinating.
marooned on an island. I think about that often.
I think it'd probably be better to get shot than get marooned, because definitely in my head as a kid, I definitely romanticized like just islands and stuff, because we would go to Key West. We'd go to Key West in the summer and like we'd just be out in the ocean. I'm just like, this is amazing.
Beautiful.
And I would be like, I could survive on a stranded island. It's like, no, you're gonna die.
You're
gonna die a slow death.
What? No way.
It's gonna be hot.
Yeah.
You're gonna
No
get
way.
dehydrated.
You're gonna meet people.
So tough.
You're gonna
You're gonna meet
you're
people.
gonna
It's
unbury
a
a bunch of
deserted
rum.
island.
unbury.
You're gonna live there like Blue Lagoon.
Yeah.
Your hair's gonna get so long. You're gonna get so tan.
Hell no.
Crazy.
This
Yeah.
isn't Castaway.
Yeah, but the pirate. I mean, there were a lot of other really like. There was like workers' comp. Like there was
What
in,
if you?
in
'Cause
Bartholomew Roberts like pirate
Got a
code.
peg leg.
Yeah, if you like lost an arm or a limb like during battle or working
pay
on the
you?
ship, they pay out like 800 like pieces of 8 to be like, hey, you lost a leg in battle, like we're gonna pay you out money. And then they would pay like less if like the injury was like more minor or whatever. But
And none of these men have like a home with families, or some do.
generally speaking, I think it was
It's
less
forever
likely.
life. on
I think
seas.
Yeah, I think some people did have like, there might have been some like pirate captains that would like settle down or have families or whatever. But I think it was not very common. I think
you'd
they
never
were
see
just-
them.
Yeah, you're gone like all year round. Like, how much time are they even spending on land ever?
I mean, not a lot. Most land
Yeah.
wasn't safe for them.
Right.
I
That's
think.
what I was thinking.
Yeah, there were very few. So like I said, like Nassau was a big like pirate hub. Port Royal was a big pirate hub. Madagascar actually was a very big
Really?
So
pirate
cool.
hub.
You really
during
only hear about
pirate-
the Caribbean. You don't hear much about like the
Right.
world. So it was a very worldwide phenomenon for this 80 years.
Yeah. I mean, Qing Shi was a Chinese pirate, and she commanded like the largest pirate fleet in history.
Whoa.
And
How many ships do you know?
Oh my gosh.
And is this of the same era? This is a different era.
This is like not. Yeah, this is not. I actually, Selina might fact check me here on like what year she operated. I don't believe it was during like the Golden Age, but it was like.
When is the Golden Age?
1650 to 1730.
So
Yeah.
the peace age, the Spanish peace age, and then it's the Golden Age.
No, so the post-Spanish succession period was like basically the end, right at the end of piracy. Because once the nations were no longer at war, then that freed up everyone's attention to be like, oh, the pirates are kind of a problem. They're like, we've been using them like as privateers. We've been like taking advantage of them existing. But now that everyone's at peace and everything in like the new world is kind of settled, it's like, okay, now we should probably deal with these people that are just killing merchants and taking all of our like
Right.
ships and stuff.
So the Golden Age was before that.
The post-Spanish succession was right at the end, but it's also the most romanticized. It's what you see in media a lot is the Golden Age of piracy, or is the
Yeah.
Why is it so
Because that's-
romanticized?
I think it's just those are the very famous pirates. It's when you have like a lot of the like exploits of like Blackbeard and a lot of like, people being chased. Woodes Rogers was sent in to be the governor of Nassau, and he was basically like the scourge of the pirates. So right in this period, once there was like kind of peacetime, England offered like a blanket pardon. They were like, if you like come in, like we'll pardon you for all of your pirate deeds.
Whoa.
We'll let you off scot-free as long as you just promise not to be a pirate again. And so for a lot of pirates that have just
They did it.
they were like, yeah, I'll take whatever money I have and try and go live like a normal life.
Whoa.
But then there were also a lot of pirates that, they fought to the bitter end.
Yeah.
They could never. And that's like a lot of the more, famous, like Bartholomew Roberts. He was at it right until the end. He, I believe, has historically the most ships ever like captured by a single pirate. I think he captured something like over 400 ships.
Oh my God.
What?
Yeah, in his time as a pirate. And what's crazy is a lot of these like post-Spanish succession pirates, they were only operating for like a few years.
They just were going hard.
They were going. I think Blackbeard literally only like was a pirate, like and was actually out sailing for like 2 years.
Could you
It makes
imagine you have a
sense.
job for 2 years and you're a legend forever?
Yeah. I mean, basically, we already did it.
I mean,
We're legends forever, the three of us.
Yeah, for this
you're
one
so
episode.
right.
it makes sense though, because you think about 2 years on a ship nonstop.
Yeah.
You can only go for so long before you
Yeah.
potentially like die.
Yeah.
So,
And it was tough too, because then after the pardons, Woodes Rogers employed a lot of former pirates as pirate hunters. So like Captain Benjamin Hornigold was a very famous pirate, and he became like he started working with Woodes Rogers and started hunting pirates. And so it was kind of this like very cannibalistic thing at the end where it's like, okay, you can either remain a pirate or you can stop being a pirate, or you can just go hunting down the people you used to like
Bounty
be
hunters.
friends with.
oh,
That's kind of fun.
Historically, there is an argument to be made. A lot of historians that like have studied pirates, they do believe that if the pirates in the post-Spanish succession period and in this like very tumultuous time in the New World had any sort of leadership and any ability to like work together and just not be generally stupid, that there could have been a legitimate pirate empire created in the New World. Like,
I mean,
in the Caribbean, like the English really, if all the pirates had worked together, they wouldn't have had the power to like overcome the threat of pirates as quickly as they did.
Well, there are modern pirates right now.
Yeah.
well, pirates have been an ongoing. There's
they're
never a time
ongoing
they're
forever.
they
Yeah.
haven't existed.
Since
yeah.
commerce has existed, there have been, highwaymen and bandits and pirates. Like,
Yeah.
anytime there's been merchant goods to be plundered, there have been people to plunder them.
I remember reading a book on Cleopatra, and in like one of her battles with one of her siblings, I think, she enlisted a bunch of pirates to like fight in her army.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, oh yeah,
Epic book.
ancient ancient pirates are a very real thing. Like pirates
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
and pirates still it's just a term for people who are committing crimes on the ocean.
Yeah.
That's really all it is.
There were a lot of pirates in the Mediterranean, so like off the coast of North Africa, they were called the Barbary Corsairs, was a very famous group of pirates. But yeah, I mean, we again like the very big and well known ones were all kind of operating in the Caribbean. But there were pirates, all over the world.
This episode of Smosh Mouth is sponsored by Rocket Money. Shayne, how did pirates do it? How did they keep track of all their doubloons and booty without the help of Rocket Money?
Oh, I don't know. I'd be lost at sea if it wasn't for my Rocket Money dashboard.
You're so right. Rocket Money is the perfect finance app for monitoring everything from my bills to my subscriptions. I don't have to worry about anything. I receive real-time alerts on large transactions, upcoming bills, and refunds. Did you know that users who create a financial goal with Rocket Money save over $70 on average within the first 30 days?
That's a lot of treasure.
I love an automation. There is a feature that allows you to set it and forget it. I create a goal like saving up for a new captain's hat, and Rocket Money helps me attain it.
I use Rocket Money to tag and categorize all my transactions. Like my most frequent transactions are food and dining out. So with Rocket Money, I can track it all with ease. Pirates probably need categories like, eye patches and parrot food categories.
Oh, of course,
Yeah,
totally.
yeah.
Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Join at rocketmoney.com/smoshmouth. That's rocketmoney.com/smoshmouth, rocketmoney.com/smoshmouth. Back to the show. That scared me.
Sorry, I know pirates are scary.
That was wild.
I know, it just came through me.
Good for you, buddy.
Thanks.
Talk to me about this female pirate that you mentioned earlier.
And
No.
Oh, Ching
Oh.
Shi?
Yeah.
Yeah, how many ships was it? Did you get the number?
Yes. So she operated from 1801 to 1810. So after.
1800s.
Yeah.
And she was the leader of, where was it? Approximately 400 junks and between 40,000 to 70,000 pirates.
Yeah.
But wait, 40,000 pirates.
40,000 pirates.
Under one person's command.
Yeah.
What?
Correct.
She must have been awesome.
Yeah, she was. She actually, so she like basically took over the pirate fleet from like her husband. Her husband was like a pirate captain, and then he died, and she took command and just like made like, yeah, one of the greatest pirate fleets of all time.
That's incredible.
And operated and basically, I mean, for what it was, is probably the closest thing to like a pirate like empire that you could have. I mean, there was
Right.
like, she was basically operating unchallenged in like, you know, the Indian Ocean and South
How
China
many
Sea and
ship?
stuff.
How do they communicate with each other?
I
That
mean,
big of a fleet.
yeah, for that big of a fleet, she probably just had a lot of like generals and captains and like had like, I would imagine like kind of hubs of command and stuff.
It's kind of incredible that they, sailed across the seas with no real way to communicate other than
Yeah.
hoping to meet up.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. Like people, you could just be like, hey man, I'm going out to like catch a prize. Like I'll catch you on the flip side. And then your buddy just never comes
A
back.
year later.
He's just gone forever.
Isn't that crazy that that's how things kind of worked until like relatively recently?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Like up until like when we were teenagers and it was like, all right, I'm going out. It's like, there's no way to contact me until I find a phone
I
at
had
someplace
no way.
Yeah.
else. But like really back then it was like,
Just-
well, if you write, great, we'll find out. I was listening to a thing about Alexander the Great, and his dad was murdered at like a wedding, right?
Yeah.
Philip II.
Sad.
And it was like a crazy like Game of Thrones type of thing where he was like stabbed in the middle of
Red
this celebration. And it was like, Persia was really nervous about this guy because like the Greeks and Macedonia and Persia. And it was like, well, they're going to get word about it like months later.
Yeah.
But it was even crazier because there's a part where like in another city nearby, the like leader of that city had a messenger who was able to get to him in time to tell him like he's been killed.
Yeah.
And then he gives a speech to his town of like, I prophesize that a great death is going to happen.
Yeah.
And then is able to be like, oh, because I have this info before anybody else does, I can make it look like I'm predicting this is about to happen.
Yeah.
And then news officially arrives.
Whoa.
Because it takes months
Yeah.
Yeah.
for like
prophet.
the world to find out about like massive things.
Yep.
It's so crazy. Like you think about like if like when JFK was assassinated, if it took like a month for everyone to find out about it.
But it didn't.
Well, no, but I'm saying imagine
But
if
imagine.
like that's how things were. But it's like, oh, did you hear the president got shot 2 months ago?
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, what? Like,
Could you imagine if like you had a family and your partner went off sailing?
Mm-hmm.
Years.
it's like, where's Greg? Well, he went off sailing
his
and
son
he's
is
been
10.
and he's doing his whole
He
pirate
hasn't been
thing.
back.
Doing this pirate thing.
I slept with the neighbor.
You know,
I
he
told
had
him
a
not
letter
to.
of marque at one point, but now he doesn't, and
I
he's still
told
doing
him,
it.
He's
I
still
told him
doing
to
it.
get an apprenticeship with the blacksmith, but he just didn't want to do it. He wanted to go be a pirate.
He
I told
wants
him
to
get a
be there.
stable job. Maybe join if you want to be at sea, join a merchant ship.
He wants to hang out with his friends 24/7. What am I supposed
He
to do?
wanted to go hang out with Charles Vane, the cool kid on the block.
Charles Vane.
I think pirates just had the best branding in history. Like the names are
So
cool, the
cool.
look is cool. I
Yeah.
know a lot of it's been polished up over time.
Yeah.
Like I know they probably didn't look and sound like what we know them
Probably
as.
smelled like
It's
ass.
so colorful and
Yeah.
so like vibrant in how it's portrayed, but I'm
Yeah.
like, I know it was all dirty and shitty.
Yeah.
Oh shit. We're all covered in shit.
It was probably the grossest shit
Most
ever.
pirates were dirty and cheap, but there is actually a lot of like there were pirates that were very like gaudy. I mean, very Jack Rackham is a very famous
Well, if
pirate.
your name
Body
is-
meaning like covered in jewels and things?
Yeah, and
Oh, well,
his
sure.
his nickname is called Calico Jack.
Oh yeah.
Calico Jack. Yep,
Yeah.
I've heard of
Calico
that.
Jack.
because of just all the crazy clothes he wore. Like he just
What
wore
kind of
really
clothes?
beautiful, like colorful
Gucci.
clothing,
Oh.
like big
Louis
coats, like
Vuitton.
Gucci slides.
yeah, bro got the
Gucci slides.
Gucci.
This guy's gonna
flip-flops
die. He's
on.
wearing Gucci slides on a ship.
Oh, did he have like? Was he like draped in like linen, like
Velvet.
tapestry.
Big
Velvet, that'd be so hot.
big capes and cloaks, big plumed hats. Like that was what like lots of jewelry. They say that pirates, like a lot of pirates wore like a lot of expensive like gold jewelry and bangles. So if they died at sea and their bodies washed up on shore, they whoever found them would like have like money to give them like a proper burial. They would like
What a
Wow.
crazy reason to
Wait,
wear
that's
expensive
incredible.
jewelry.
they would like etch their names into like pieces of the jewelry that they wore, so that like if someone washed up, they'd be like, I want to be like, this is where I'm from or where I want to be buried, and they would have
Wait,
money to do it.
I kind of side note, I really want like really like 2 pairs of nice jewelry that I can etch that I can like pass on.
Yeah.
I've always thought about that, like engraving really
Mhm.
nice pieces of jewelry that I can pass on forever and ever.
Yeah. What did you engrave? What are you gonna engrave on it? Should do something funny.
Bitch.
Penis.
Bitch.
Bloody woman.
Whoa, we found this skeleton. Here, there's a necklace here. It just says bitch on it.
Tall bitch. I know who that is.
The most famous pirate, tall bitch.
It says
Truly.
bury this tall bitch in Portugal?
Bury this bitch in Portugal.
Okay, I
Have a
guess.
feast. I don't know. I just always thought about like engraving my name on really nice pieces of jewelry and passing it on and on.
That'd be awesome.
cool.
You
Have an
might be a
heirloom.
pirate.
Yeah, an heirloom.
You might be a pirate.
I mean, I'm obsessed with this. So you told me to read the Amina book, Amina al-Sarafi.
Oh yeah, that book is awesome.
I love that book. It's about a female pirate, and the second book just came out of hers.
Yes,
She wrote it
I have
years
it.
later, Tapestry of Fate. I'm going to read it, but like that book is all about a female pirate who's retired and has to go back and save
Okay.
her daughter, and I was like, damn.
Yeah,
pirate
it's
in
cool.
another
It falls
life?
in the fantasy of like,
It's really fun.
because that's more.
It's pirate fantasy, but
What
also there's
ocean is
magical
that? It's more like
gins and
Mediterranean. Yeah,
Yeah.
like
gorgeous colors and foods and
I love like
Yeah.
pirate and just like ocean as a setting.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's such a
Yes.
fun. Like I know it's nowhere realistic, but Pirates of the Caribbean is just so fun. Like there's something so because the ocean is so mysterious.
Yeah.
So people who are operating there,
Mhm.
I think that's what makes it fun is that like there's skirmishes and battles happening out on the ocean, but they are all so outmatched by the environment
by
they're
the environment.
in.
Yeah.
And that makes it so fun.
Massive
They're at the
octopus.
whim of that. They're like, we can
Mhm.
only go if the wind permits it.
Yeah.
We're only afloat if the ocean allows us to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that makes it so fun.
Yeah. No, I love pirate media. Amanda and I will. Did we talk about this on the show? Maybe brought it up, but Black Sails.
Yep.
The pirate show.
I don't think I finished Black Sails, but I watched a lot of it.
It's so good.
And you love that show.
It might be my favorite show of all time. I
Whoa.
think like
It's so intense.
it
so good.
incorporates like all like so many of like the very famous. So the concept of the show is it's basically like a fictional, like a prologue to Treasure Island. So
Oh.
it follows Captain Flint because in Treasure Island, like the protagonist or the main characters like Long John Silver and Jim Hawkins, and they're trying to find Captain Flint's treasure. So Black Sails
Yeah.
follows Captain Flint.
Flint.
And like the story of
Got it.
how he became a very like famous, like infamous pirate, because Captain Flint wasn't like a real pirate. But in the show, they have all.
No, he was married. He had a family, and he didn't really want to do that.
Yeah. He was like a former like naval captain, and it's there were a lot of like former like Navy men that became.
It makes sense because you
pirates.
need a lot of training
Yeah.
and you need a ship. Like it was kind of the perfect storm to
Yeah.
create this. It's not like people could just be like, oh, I'm just gonna
Yeah.
grab a ship and go. It's like that's
Right.
such a
Yeah. And like on like I was talking about earlier, the pirate code, like conditions like as far as like being on a ship and being paid, like conditions on pirate ships generally were better. Like in like the British Navy, like the captain had like final authority on anything. You could never question him. The pay was set and it wasn't based on like how much you actually plundered. Because like pirates were giving out like equal shares, and so it's
Yeah.
like you only had a certain amount, and so like when the war ended and like a lot of these like Navy guys were like losing their jobs or whatever, it's like yeah, go be a pirate.
yeah.
That show is so good. It's also heartbreaking.
It is a brutal.
It's brutal.
show. I think the reason I love that show so much is because it does have like all these famous pirates, and from what I know, like and have like read, like they're pretty like accurate to like what their like personalities and how they would be. But it just shows piracy in all of its like really cool, like magnificent, like sailing the seven
Yeah.
seas, and then also the really
Awful.
awful, terrible, gruesome parts, and it just kind of paints a very complete picture.
I'd say
But
it's like the best depiction
mhm.
of what we think.
It's kind of one of the
it was
only
like.
pirate shows, though. It's not.
Kinda, yeah.
Well, it's probably an
Yeah.
expensive thing to make.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Um,
There's a scene in the show where they show like keel hauling. Do you know like what keel hauling is?
it sounds familiar. Is that a way of killing someone?
It's like a way of torturing or killing someone, but basically what you would do is you would tie someone up by like their hands and feet and then drag them underneath the ship.
Yeah.
And so like so you must not have watched that far because they'd show this.
Nope.
It is
Nope.
because there's barnacles that go like on the bottom, like on the hull of a ship, and they're sharp and hard. And so
Yeah.
they would pull people and drag them underneath the ship, and their bodies would just get like shredded on barnacles, like while being essentially drowned. And they show it because I knew what it was, but seeing it depicted in the show, I was like, that might be like one of the worst things
Yeah.
that you could do to a
Yeah.
person.
I'm glad I didn't get that far, I guess.
It was insane watching it happen. In that show, there's so many moments too of just like where I'm just like hand over mouth, like, oh my
I
It's
need to watch
such
it at
a
some point. I think I
wild
watched a couple
show.
episodes. It went for
It's-
like 2 seasons, right?
There's like
No.
5 seasons.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
five.
it's a long show, but it is like front to back. The writing is incredible.
I'll have to check it
It's-
out.
And that actor is so good, the Captain Flynn.
Yeah,
What else has he done? He's a British.
I think
can't
so. Yeah, no, he's
remember. I'm
incredible.
not gonna play this game where I go.
Do
"Who is he?"
you? Do you have a favorite pirate?
Do I have a favorite pirate? That's such a good question.
Good question.
That's such a
Shane.
Thanks.
good.
Good
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
Hey, little pirate boy. Good question.
I
Yeah.
think that
You didn't like that.
I'm a little pirate boy.
I'm a little
Sorry, pirate
boy.
man.
Arg.
Thanks.
Avast.
Welcome.
I really love so there was kind of a group of pirates that like all ran together, the like flying gang, and it was like Blackbeard and Charles Vane and Anne Bonny, Mary Read, Calico Jack. They all kind of ran together. I really love
Kind of like a hype house,
yeah,
but out on the
exactly like a
Pirate
hype
boy,
house,
you are
bro.
crushing this.
kind of on the ocean.
Exactly like a
What's
hype
up? I'm Blackbeard, and this is
We're
my
part of the
TikTok.
flying gang.
No, I really love Anne Bonny and Mary Read. I think they're so like badass. I think in a time when like women truly were like just treated so terribly.
That's what I meant
I
in the
think
beginning.
Because this is 1600 or this is 1700s.
Yeah, the 1700s. And yeah, I guess just for like two like women to be known as some of like the fiercest like
How did they?
pirates
Do
in
you know how they ended up becoming pirates?
yes. So I believe Anne Bonny, if I remember correctly, she was like born and they thought like they're like early. A lot of pirates' early lives aren't super well known. Basically, she was like born in England and then brought to America, kind of like secretly, and was raised in secret as like a girl because I think like it was something where like her father, whoever, like they wanted her to be a boy,
And they
and
were
so
gonna kill her.
and so they brought her to America, but then she ended up like running off with like a guy that was a pirate.
Oh.
And I believe it's a similar story to Mary Read, like kind of just like
she
grew up.
rebelled against her father.
I believe Mary Read actually grew up and she pretended to be a boy for like a lot of her early life, and that just kind of led her to being a pirate and continuing that facade.
That's
But
incredible.
they ended up, meeting on a ship, and they sort of found out, like, not by accident. I think they kind of just clocked each other. That they were like, oh, like you're a girl too.
What's up, girl? What's up, girl?
Oh my god.
Oh my god. Girl,
yeah.
are you crazy? This is awful what I'm doing. They were probably so cool.
Were they? How vicious of pirates were they?
They were pretty. I mean, they were pretty vicious. There's a story that I love where Mary Read had like this one. I think like it was like the ship's carpenter. he was kind of like her little boy toy, and he got into it with like another person on the crew. And if pirates had disputes, this is actually like in Bartholomew Roberts' code, but it was like you wouldn't fight on the ship. If you had something to settle, you'd settle it like in a duel on land. So like pistols and swords.
Has to be on land.
Yeah.
You don't
Because you don't. Yeah, you don't.
And so,
Yeah, of course.
of course.
You got to protect the ship.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mary Read, like the carpenter that she liked, he like got into it with this other guy and they were gonna duel, and Mary was like, don't worry, little guy, I got you. And she went out on the beach and like dueled this guy for him and like just slaughtered this other pirate for her little like
Damn.
Whoa.
That is a strong ass woman.
Yeah.
She's like, I got you.
Did she kill him with a gun or a sword?
Bare hands.
I don't know. It
Her
might have been
thighs.
the gun. It might have shot him with the gun, finished him off with the sword. I feel like when you
Nice 1-2 combo.
Yeah, well, when your gun only has one
Slice.
shot.
She just cut off his head at the end.
I mean, you got to remember the gun only has one shot.
Yeah, you
so
gotta
if
make
you
it
get him in
count.
like the liver. It's like, well, he's
"Aw,
still
damn
kicking. One of my favorite Anne Bonny stories, actually, and it's Anne Bonny and Mary Read and Calico Jack. They'd taken a prize and they were getting hunted by pirate hunters. So this was kind of at the end of piracy was sort of coming to an end, and they went into kind of this cove like where they'd like been safe before, and all the crew just started drinking, getting super wasted. And Anne Bonny and Mary Read were like, if something happens, like these pirate hunters were on our tail, like we have to be ready, like you guys shouldn't be drinking. Sure enough, they get found. And basically, Anne Bonny and Mary Read were like fighting to the bitter end, but everyone on the ship was drunk and they just like surrendered. And so they all got captured and brought back to England like for trial. And Anne Bonny's last words to Calico Jack, because he like surrendered, and her last words to him were, "If you had fought like a man, you needn't be hanged like a dog." She basically was like, this is what you get for being a little.
I want that
Awesome.
tattooed on my chest.
Yeah.
That's sick,
like
dude.
literally like raw as hell.
Damn, wait, that was Mary Read or that was
That
Anne
was
Bonny?
Anne
Anne
Bonny.
Bonny. So
Yeah.
wait, how did Anne Bonny die?
We don't know. So there
She's
are
alive.
A lot of their fates are probably mysterious, huh?
a lot
Huh.
of pirates kind of faded. So she was supposed to be hanged, but then and it's not known again, like there is no death record for Anne Bonny or Mary Read, because they claim to be
They're old women still alive.
Yeah.
Thelma and
And in
Louise.
fact, yeah,
We
they're
found them in the
Susan
Grand
Sarandon.
Canyon. How'd they get there?
No, but they claim to be pregnant. And so the English like wouldn't hang a woman if she was pregnant. And so it's not like we don't have death records. We don't know if they actually went through with it, or if
Do you
like
think that they were pregnant?
I don't know.
They're a pirate. They're probably lying.
I don't know. Anne Bonny was like with she like had like romantic relationships with Calico Jack. That's something that was like known. But I mean, pirates were very free people. Anne Bonny also was like, I'm pretty sure like doing Mary. They were all doing each
Doing
other.
Mary.
Oh,
Guys,
if you're
they were-
out in the ocean,
Anne Bonny was doing
look,
Mary.
Look,
Guys,
listen,
they're all
you're on a
doing each
ship.
other.
Yeah, you're on a ship. You got like a few options. It's like, all right, we're all gonna.
And doing what? When you say doing Mary.
You saw the show. They're
They
all each other.
Hey, I love it. I think it's incredible.
Guys, if you
Amanda,
watch-
they are on the ship.
This is why I want to be a pirate. It's essentially a nudist colony. You're just
It
all
Guys,
kind of is.
if you watch Black Sails, there's so
No,
much
yeah.
boob and penis, it's crazy.
Yes, that's
It's
why I
like-
loved it. I need to finish it.
They don't hold back on the fact, and it's like it's real. Like they were just like hanging. Like
Right.
if the pirates were going on shore, they were spending their money drinking and at
course.
brothels, and then they spend all their money. It's like, all right, we got a new prize. We heard tell of a new ship. We're gonna go hunt.
They're living.
I think it's always funny, like with history, it's like the scope of it is like you're going off with this group of people, and this is the same with like armies back in the day.
Yeah.
It's like you're going off and you're gonna be gone for years.
Yeah.
You're probably not gonna come home. It's like you're probably gonna have sex with whoever's around.
Of
Like,
course.
Yeah.
like that's probably what's going on.
There's
like,
no like
dude.
promise ring on any of these mother.
yeah, it's like, dude, the Spartans went out to fight for years. What do you think they're doing?
Yeah. It's, I
Have
mean,
sex
they got
with each
bigger
other.
things to worry about. you
Yeah,
know?
like each other's penises.
Yeah. They're like, let me see you. What size are you? Let
Like,
me
bro,
see.
let me get a look at your
Let me see.
sword.
This is what
Yeah,
size I
hell
am. Now
yeah.
put your armor on and take
It's
your
like you're
pants off.
you could die at any moment. You're hanging out. Like, come on.
You're
Guys,
gonna
we're
have
showing
sex.
each other our swords in the brig later. Yo, meet me in the brig later.
I
We're
love
looking
it.
at our swords.
Shifting from sex really quick. I want to talk
Why?
about.
Boo.
I want to talk about rum.
Yeah.
Were they all drinking rum? Is
Yeah.
that like that was specifically the drink,
Well-
or is that talked up, or was it something different?
Isn't that what was able to last on these ships for a really long time?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure rum just generally was. It's what they were brewing like with
the sugar?
Yeah, sugar cane. I like don't know too much about like the way I know like tequila is obviously like agave. I don't
Yeah.
actually know the distilling process for rum.
Rum is tea. So
um,
rum is essentially a bunch of spices and a bunch of tea that you mix together, and then you can ferment and
Oh.
put in
Yeah.
a barrel. Or
Okay.
that's all rum is.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I have this like Caribbean rum cocktail book.
You and your husband love rum.
Rum is H's favorite thing in the entire world.
Really?
And he's obsessed with the origin of rum, everything about rum, Caribbean
Cool.
rum.
That's awesome. Should
Yeah.
we call him in? Should we ask him?
Get him on in here. Let's
See
get
if he
some
knows
shots of
why
rum.
all the pirates were drinking rum.
I love that. Probably
that.
especially in that era, like 1700s into the 1800s. That probably that might be one of the drunkest periods of human history.
Oh,
People
yeah.
were drunk
Yeah.
all the time. I want to say it was 1830 that in the States there was like the peak of like drinking. And they say it was something like people averaged like 5 shots of whiskey a day.
There's nothing else to
Like,
do, man.
I mean, they were
There's
just.
nothing else. Plus, they're in
And it was like that
sun.
last.
Yeah.
It was like a safety thing too. It's like that's why in Rome, right? They pretty much everything they drank was alcoholic
Yeah.
because it was like that's how you kept it safe.
Am I
from
am I
bacteria.
wrong about this? But isn't IPA India Pale Ale? It didn't mean to be as hoppy, but they had to keep it lasting for like it on the ship, so they had to add more hops to it to make it last. That's why it's called India Pale Ale.
I don't know anything.
I
about
like
don't
went on
know.
a deep dive about.
I don't
beer
like
forever.
IPAs.
I love IPAs.
I like
So
I like
I don't
IPAs.
know.
I think a lot
like
of these beers
IPAs.
that were created, like IPAs, sours, they were created out of necessity.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it makes it last,
Yeah, but I
right?
think
It's kind of the same with like
yeah.
anything fermented. I feel like was originally just so it's like so this stays safe.
But
Yeah.
rum is because of the spices and the teas.
Yeah.
But
We're definitely
again,
gonna have a lot of. We're gonna have like someone in the comments is gonna be like alcohol expert here,
Yeah, alcohol expert.
and it's just because they're drunk.
alcohol
Alcohol
expert.
expert here. So
I'm sipping on some
basically,
Captain Morgan spiced rum right
Oh.
now.
yeah.
Let me tell you right now.
Captain Morgan. real person.
I Captain and Coke. It happened in college, and I can never go back to it
Can't go
ever
back.
again. It was like my thing.
It was never a rum. Like I like rum, but it was never like my thing.
I don't know why. It was that and Bacardi.
Mm.
I don't know why.
Ooh,
My-
Bacardi 151.
My mom used
Naughty.
to, growing up when I was younger, my mom would she would do Diet Coke, and because we only like had Diet Coke in the house, we only drank Diet Coke. She'd
Yeah.
do Diet Coke and rum, and she called it a skinny pirate.
Ah.
That's like, yeah.
That's good.
One time when I
mean-
was a kid, I like went into like I saw like a Diet Coke and I was like, ooh, Diet Coke, I'm gonna have a sip. Like I knew it was my mom's and I tasted it and I was like, oh, that tastes disgusting.
That's probably rough.
Come to find out later, it was
Let me say
a
though, I
skinny
will.
pirate.
As I said, I can't do rum and Coke again. I randomly did one. Like I had a rum and Coke 2 years ago, and I was like, this is delicious.
Yeah.
It's kind of delicious. It's very sweet.
Only with spice. I can only do a rum and Coke with spice rum though.
Same,
Do
same,
white rum
same.
and Coke is like
Same.
I wouldn't know. I don't do them that. I haven't had that much.
bro's not a
Yeah.
real pirate.
Yeah, you're
Sorry, I'm not a real
I
pirate.
guess you can't
okay?
be part of the flying gang. Sorry, buddy.
Sorry, buddy.
That's a really cool name, the Flying Gang.
yeah.
Yeah, were there other names for like
Probably
big groups of pirates?
Countless.
Yeah, there were other pirates. Like I said, there was a Flying Gang, there were the Barbary Corsairs, but I mean, there were a lot of like it made sense to kind of roll with a crew. You know, you
Yeah.
had like a group of like-minded individuals.
And they weren't all sailing together all the time. They were just like just a
Correct.
unit. So it's like Blackbeard might be off on the other side of the world, but
And then but then, there would be times when they would like coordinate. If there was like, a treasure, like a Spanish treasure fleet, they might be like, hey, we got tell there's going to be there's like a big treasure galleon and there's 2, big warships guarding it. Let's get the gang together and we'll all go out and like try and make this happen.
did these like famous ones like Blackbeard, did they only operate around the Caribbean or did they travel around the whole world?
They mostly operated in the Caribbean. I think sometimes they would go so pirates would also, they go up and down the coast of like America as well.
Yeah.
Like North America, pillaging and plundering colonies.
This is kind of a crazy question, but like, where do they get their ships?
Valid question.
You know what I mean? Like, they have all these ships. Is it just they started with one ship that they had, and then they kind of stole other ships, and it became part of their fleet?
Yeah, I think that was mostly it. It was like someone would have a ship, would buy a ship, whatever. They would be a merchant turned pirate. However, they got their ship,
Or
in
like
the
a
first
naval ship
place.
that then they had.
Oh, yeah.
And then you would like plunder other ships. If they had a nicer ship, you could take it for your own, or you could just like use like the money that you got to like repair and upgrade your ship. But yeah, a lot of it was just taking other people's stuff.
Are you interested in knowing where like shipwrecks are to this day? Like, are there any famous shipwrecks that
Yeah.
you're super interested in?
Not that I'm super interested. I know there are like very famous shipwrecks, and that you can like, I'm pretty sure that like you can do dives, and they
Yeah.
found like old like Spanish treasure galleons and stuff.
Aren't they
'Cause I mean-
discovering new ones all the time?
Yeah.
Like there are a countless amount of
Yeah.
shipwrecks.
Yep.
And pirates would like, they would plunder shipwrecks. That's like something like if a ship like they had
How did
diving.
they?
How?
How? did
So
they do that?
Because
They-
without the modern gear
Well, they had old diving gear like back in the
in the
day, but
1700s.
So they had diving bells, and basically, to my knowledge, it was basically like a giant like metal thing, and you would drop it in the water, and it would go down because it was really heavy, and it would trap air inside of it, and so then you would go down essentially with this diving bell, and then you would take a breath and then swim around, and then you'd like go back up for air into like this diving bell that they'd lowered down.
they'd essentially like free dive with a little
That's
bit of oxygen down
That
there.
is terrifying.
First of all, the bends, they're like going. So
Yeah, but they're pirates. They're just built different.
what the hell? Like,
they can just handle that.
like when you free dive and then you go up that quickly. I guess they obviously weren't down there that long. If you're down there,
I think
Ooh,
also
get
like
that.
I think also
it's crazy.
They're not going down massive depths. It has to
Yeah.
be
It
that
has
they
to be
could
like
probably
30 or maybe
see
40 feet max.
max.
yeah.
Yeah.
around the Caribbean islands like and
It's-
stuff
yeah.
like, and in the Spanish Main there was a lot of like, you know,
could
shallow
see.
shipwrecks, and that's a reason also that there were shipwrecks. Like you would go into shallow waters, and there
Yeah.
might be jagged rocks that like you didn't see or whatever, or going over another
Reefs.
shipwreck. Like that was one thing in
Yeah.
the show in Black
Uh-huh.
Sails that they depict is the British actually scuttled a bunch of ships in like the harbor of Nassau so
up.
that the pirates couldn't
Yeah.
sail through. So when they went
Oh.
to sail their ships, they just hit these other
Yeah.
ships under.
Wow.
Pretty genius. I mean, that's what they say is the Bermuda Triangle, not shipwrecks, but it's actually they're like, oh, spooky Bermuda Triangle. All these ships always go down, but it's actually like a formation of volcanoes or crazy reefs in the center of it, and it's like almost like a what is that called, a whirlpool
Yeah.
situation. So it's not like it's haunted or spooky. It's just
Yeah.
what's underneath, and then ships
Yeah.
always
It's
wreck
just
there.
the ocean, yeah.
Do you I remember reading once that they were like, we think Blackbeard's treasure is buried like in South Carolina. And I was like, that's
What?
crazy. Because like as you said, they go up and down the coast. But it's like I wonder how much buried treasure there is just
Yeah.
On
out there
land.
on land. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so there was only one actual recorded historical instance of a pirate burying treasure, and it was William Kidd. And he essentially used it as a bargaining chip. So he was a privateer technically, and he sailed around the coast of Africa. And he was supposed to be like not plundering British ships, but so much of the commerce in that area was like British ships and the British like East India Company. And so his crew got restless. They're like, we see all these stacked British ships and like we want to like take them as a prize. And William Kidd had basically done kind of a shady deal with some magistrates and like members of like government in England to be like, hey, we'll like kind of give you a secret letter of marque almost, and like you just pay us like kind of under the table like
Right.
some money that like from the ships that you plunder. But then like William Kidd's crew was threatening to mutiny him, and so he's like, all right, well, I just gotta attack an English ship now. And so he got all this treasure, But then the English were after him. And so he buried his treasure to basically when he like
Insurance.
to be like, well, if you kill me, like you won't know where my treasure is.
So smart.
And then they
Killed him anyways.
Yeah, so now his treasure's just buried somewhere.
Could be, if he was being honest. Yeah, his treasure is just buried
Oh,
somewhere.
right. That's why they killed him.
So there's likely, by that logic, why would most pirates bury their treasure? It's most likely the only treasure that's hidden out in the world is in shipwrecks.
Yeah, I think like realistically, pirates were like they were using the money that they were earning, and for like a lot of the like more successful pirates, like either they were dying or like Henry Every, he just disappeared.
Yeah.
He just disappeared after his like huge prize. He disappeared, and like we don't really know what happened to him. But it's actually a lot of the very common kind of pirate tropes come from Treasure Island and Robert Louis Stevenson.
Even the pirate voice
Yeah.
is not like that comes from the Treasure Island movie, right?
Yeah.
Like
No, the
pirates
voice-
probably were like hanging out just like talking like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think like in Black Sails, it's probably like the way that they talk. Like I think
Just
they do it
like
They
anyone
talk
else.
like that a little bit, nothing super crazy though.
Yeah, no, they don't talk like super piratey. It's
Yeah.
more of just
They didn't
like,
have a
kind of that-
specific. There wasn't like a pirate accent like "yar."
Yeah.
It's just like they
a lot
all
of them were just like British people.
Yeah, exactly.
So he
But
just made up an entire language essentially.
yeah, I mean, he made up like X marks the spot on a treasure map. That was like buried treasure, something that like,
Oh, the
he
best thing ever as a kid.
popularized.
Most I feel like so many tropes do come from fiction.
Yeah. And it's funny because he was just like kind of fascinated with pirates. And the one, I can't remember the guy who wrote it, but a lot of the kind of stuff that we have, like the firsthand accounts of pirates, comes from a book called The General History of Pirates, I think. But the party line on it is sort of like, it is embellished in that book as well. Like there are
course.
things in it.
Right.
It's like, okay, like that might not have happened. Like
Right.
there was embellishment happening, but it is like kind of the most like cohesive like kind of representation of like firsthand accounts. That's where we get like Bartholomew Roberts' Pirate Code was like recorded there. Yeah, no, I think just like in general it's hard to know exactly what things were like. I think we have a pretty good picture, but when something in real life, because I truly think that pirates in real life were crazy. Like so much of it is based in truth. And so it's hard like for us to be like, okay, how do we separate like the truth from the embellishment? Because I think that so much of the crazy stuff is also true.
Yeah.
Do you wish that you were a pirate?
No, God, no. It had to have sucked so bad
I don't think there's
to be
a-
a pirate.
So you're just an admirer from afar. You just enjoy the history of it.
I would love to be able to like live on a pirate ship, like with God mode turned on.
Yeah.
Where I'm like invincible, like in a video game. Like I can like, I'm in creative mode. Like I can just kind of get up and fly around. But like to see like an actual like naval battle or pirates boarding ship, that'd probably be
Absolutely
the coolest
not.
thing ever.
I would never. Yeah, I wouldn't. There's no time in history that I'd want to go actually like live in.
Yeah.
Right. No matter who you are in those eras, but it's like if you could travel and have like a protective bubble around you and just be an observer
Yeah.
of any era. It's like fun to like. Would that be the era that you pick for sure?
Yeah. Yeah, if I could have
100%.
a protective bubble, just observe an era of history, I would love to have seen the pirates.
What about you?
I don't know if I would pick that just like as a woman. But
Well,
then
no, I'm saying you're not like actually there or seen. If you have a protective bubble and you get to go and just observe any moment in
ancient
history.
Egypt,
Okay.
1000%.
Which time in ancient Egypt? It
I
was around for so long.
know.
Isn't it crazy that Cleopatra's closer to our time than she was to ancient, like the pyramids being built?
Yeah.
I don't think I'd want to be around the pyramid time.
Not the pyramid time.
I feel like pharaohs, Cleopatra, like I don't know what era that is.
There's so many. It was like,
I don't
'cause
think I
it's
want
like
to be like
4,000 years.
early pyramids
early.
being built. That feels like a lot of
You're thinking
They're
closer
just
to
moving
Cleo-
rocks
hard labor to
around.
watch.
You're thinking closer to Cleopatra time.
Yeah, more. I want to like be involved in the politics and the royalty and the traditions that they have and the like, almost like the superstitious like where that all came about and
Yeah.
Yeah.
like I'm really into that. I would be really into that. But again, I am really into pirate times because I'm into like sailing, and like my papa and my uncle both were sailors. My papa had like a pretty big size ship sailboat that he had that my sisters used to go on all the time, and like I'm really into that era, but I feel like I wouldn't want to miss out on that era of Egypt.
Yeah.
What about you?
Man, I do think ancient history just sounds so cool. To see ancient Greece, ancient Persia,
Greece.
just to see things like, to go back like really far. Like, I would love to see like Mesopotamia, Assyria, like there's just
Did you
like
ever
old
go-
civilizations.
There was a museum in LA. I forget the museum, but they had a whole Mesopotamia exhibit.
That's
and it was
cool.
epic. And H and I went, and they uncovered stones with specific Mesopotamia, like
the cuneiform and everything.
yes, and it was like they broke down what it was saying, and
Yeah.
it was like such an epic exhibit.
Ooh, and then also to like see like Aztec, Incan, Mayan, like
Oh yeah.
because just ones where it's like we cannot decipher pretty well what life was like, but to really go and like see it. And also, I think like what I would love is any ancient history, and probably any time in history, is to go and just like chill on a random street and just see people like living a daily life.
Yeah.
Because I think we have this, we portray things as being so different, right? It's like, no, people were we are they're
the
still
same
human,
stuff,
right?
yeah.
To go back as far as you could, right? Because they say, I think it's like, I remember reading once, it's like if you went back 50,000 years and took a baby from back then and brought them to the modern era and raised them, that they would be indistinguishable as far as personality. That might be off, but it's like the human brain has been this way for a long time, right? It's not like 50,000 years ago we were different. It's like, no, that was they were humans. So it's like to just see, and then to be able to understand the language.
Yeah.
If I'm like in this fictional thing that I'm
would
doing,
be-
where like
yeah.
we're in a bubble
I
that
get the
deciphers, that
translator.
translates,
Yeah.
that does everything, and to just like hang out
Yeah.
and see like someone's daily life.
And they can't see you.
And they can't see me, no, but I can interact with the drinks and food.
Okay,
And I
so you
I
can,
Yeah.
you
so
can
I get
go
to
in with
drink
your
I get to drink
jeans
their alcohol.
and your boots and go in and be like, let me just.
No, I would kill to be able to be like, what's their food like?
don't
You know, like
know.
what is
Alcohol would be good.
what's the nicest dish from that era?
Yeah.
That I
No,
can
it'd be
have.
So
Like
interesting.
what's it like?
How, like, give me a side by side, like give me a McDouble and then whatever they were eating, and like who has it better?
And then you have the ability to give them a McDouble.
yeah.
And
Like,
watch them
oh
eat
my
it.
God! I have gotten a
God.
message from God.
Wow,
Yeah.
this was incredible. Like, you knew so much. I mean, I didn't doubt you, but I learned so much.
Thank you.
This is awesome.
Thank you, Trevor, so much.
Thank you for having me. No, this was lovely. I love nerding out about pirates specifically, but about history in general. I'll come talk about anything, bro.
Yeah, you really are like well versed.
Come bring me on for the Greco-Persian Wars.
Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
dude,
Bring me
I
on for
love
the
that
Battle of
shit.
History
Thermopylae,
part two,
bro.
let's
I love
do
that
it.
shit.
Yeah.
That's the stuff I was learning about recently. Well, hell yeah, happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Thank you for giving us this gift of pirate knowledge
Yeah.
for your birthday.
Time. It's so beautiful. I love sharing beautiful, enriching conversations with my friends.
Me too.
Me too.
Yar.
Arg.
All right.
All right. Bye.
See you later.